All right. What's up, my dudes? Let's try this again. The previous live stream just suddenly collapsed on me, so here I am trying to do the intro all over again. As a quick reminder, this is the Retatrutide deep dive addendum live stream where we're going to answer all of the questions which were posted in the comment section of the Retatrutide deep dive. And as a quick reminder, it's not Retatrutide, which I kept saying in the video. It's not retarded, apparently, even though that's more of a font name for Retatrutide. It's pronounced Retatrutide, not Retatrutide, which unfortunately, during the recording of the deep dive and during the, what is it called, going through the draft right before final exportation, I did not catch. So my sincere apologies for constantly messing up the pronunciation of Retatrutide, saying Retatrutide instead. It doesn't entirely roll off the tongue. Now does it? And maybe once it's finally FDA approved in 2030, give or take, they will come up with a more easier pronounceable name, like Tirzepatide is now called Mounjaro, and semaglutide is called, what was it, Victoza or something like that. Can't remember. That's old news, basically. So in this video, we're going to attempt to go through the comment section and answer some questions because a lot of questions were posted. So first, let's roll the disclaimer so we can get into it. All right, I have slight PSTSD now. Because I'm not sure if this is going to go correct. Every time I do a live stream about a particular deep dive, it goes incorrect, like the methylene blue deep dive. I didn't show the comment section. And now my previous live stream hung up on me. So yeah, that one is private now. I'll delete it after this live stream. So first, let me test real quick if you guys can see the overlays, right? Here are all the comments. So please, in the chat, let me know if you can see the comments of the safest dose of Retatrutide deep dive, next level appetite suppression. If you can see the comments, then I'm going to go right into it and start answering some questions here. All right, let me know. In the meantime, we see that Zach Keen joined the Vigorous crew. Welcome to the Vigorous crew, bro. Steve wasn't ready at noon. Dude, I took 10 milligrams Retatrutide and the whole live stream hung up on me. Hello, Steve. What's up? Retatrutide is the best, and retarded is even better. Yeah, it does make you a little bit retarded when you take this, and I'm sure we lost monetization in the process, but hey, I'm relying on your super chats. All right, everybody says you can see it. Adrian Croak, what's up? I answered your email already. We can see the comments. Okay, let's get into the comment section and see how many negative comments and terrible remarks I got this deep dive. Let's see. Sid OK says that moment when you are deciding whether or not to go with it, Steve drops another deep dives about exactly what you're thinking about. Yes, I'm not a drug influencer for nothing. 8-week deep microdose Retatrutide daily started at 1.75 milligrams total weekly, currently at 3.75 milligrams. So that's what, 1.25 milligrams sub-Q 3 times weekly. Dropped 17 pounds of fat, holy moly, with 0 strength loss. Hell yes, that's worthy of a love. Already 25 likes. Blood panel came back as the best I've ever had, combined with growth hormone, TRT, methylene blue. Amazing results. Another success story on Retatrutide, not Retatrutide. Retatrutide. Adrian, what's up, bro? Thanks again for these, Steve. Loving Retatrutide so far. I've been on it for a small video on it this week on my channel. All right, you have your own YouTube channel. I will subscribe. It's a crime that Coach Steve doesn't have 3 million subscribers. Seriously, the best info for enhanced bodybuilding, real bodybuilding out there. Thanks again, Coach. My pleasure, dude. 3 million subscribers will be a little bit too much. I'll settle for 250,000. We're almost at 150,000 yet, or now. Let's see. Aaron says, love what you're doing, Steve. Run a health and wellness clinic with my wife here in the States and have gained a wealth of knowledge from your videos. Okay, I'm happy that it's helping. Give it the Vigorous Steve special as a run-on blood work analysis and NAD plus intravenous administration protocol. I'm sure it will sell well. Which I know you're putting a lot of hard work into the videos. Many of our clients have always said great things about the info you provide. I know Thailand is amazing, but man, to have Vigorous Steve here in the States would be a huge win. Well, fund it. I take business class and 5-star hotels, but I'm willing to come over for a seminar if somebody just funds it for me. Rob says, Retatrutide has killed any desire for alcoholic beverages. Yeah, that's something that I noticed myself and what I mentioned in the deep dive, that Retatrutide might help you overcome urges or even full-blown addiction. I was never a big drinker, but since starting last year, I could care less about alcohol, he means. Retatrutide is at 0.75 milligrams 3 times a week, allows me to get all my meals in, stay very lean, like 2 to 4 weeks out lean. Oh, that's very lean. Yeah, I'm still working my way down to a 4% out body fat shape. I tried adding 0.25 milligrams of semaglutide on top of it, but it gave me terrible acid reflux and constant hiccups. Yeah, everybody seems to have like some sort of negative adverse effect to particular GLP-1 receptor agonists. And as you'll see from the comment section a little bit later on, that there are plenty of guys that get acid reflux from retatrutide as well. So again, stick with the GLP-1 receptor agonist or a combination GLP, GIP, and glucagon receptor agonist that works best for you. Let's see, Xavier. Let me like that, obviously, so I know that I read it. Hey, Steve, I wanted to mention that even though I'm not a bodybuilder and don't use a lot of the PEDs you mentioned, I still watch your videos, and you and More Plates, More Dates, Derek, made me fall in love with biochemistry and generally how the body responds to different drugs and medications, and I've learned a lot. Win. And that's why I chose to major in biotechnology instead of arts. Man, I wish I did that as well. So I'm happy to pass it on. It's the best decision of my life. I'm hoping that one day I'll work at a major drug company discovering new medications. So I don't know if you see this, but in a way, your channel changed my life. And I'm glad I found it. Keep up the amazing work. Yes, I did see it, Xavier. Yes, I read it. Start to finish, front to back, left to right, up and down. And I'm very happy that I was able to point you in the right direction. I wish somebody did that for me, but I had to find out the hard way. And, well, figure it out a little bit later on, but it's never too late, obviously. Lindsay Melrose says, perfect timing. Let's see. There's perfect timing. This is something specifically for appetite control as well as when I do eat, better digestion, metabolic, etc. Well, I'm not sure about better digestion, but if you follow an elimination diet, then retatrutide can be a game changer regarding your fat loss journey. And again, if you eat foods that you're not supposed to be eating, then, yeah, you might get acid reflux, bloating, gastrointestinal upset, and all the side effects commonly associated with GLP-1s. All right, let me quickly check over StreamYard. Let's see, we're still going in the right direction. Again, I have PTSD, guys, from failed live streams in the past. Let's see. Fishy says, confirm with a few others, 1 to 5 milligrams retatrutide weekly, very poor or very minor appetite suppression. 10 milligrams every 6 days resulted in 14.5 kilograms fat loss in 8 weeks. Holy shit. So I'm assuming a low dose, 1 to 5 milligrams weekly. I'm not sure if that's micro administrations or one administration every 6 to 7 days versus 10 milligrams. So in the low dose, maybe more frequent administration, he got a minor appetite suppression, but at a higher dose, 10 milligrams once a week, he got almost 15 kilograms of fat loss, which is about, what, let's say 32, 35 pounds. So that's a whole dumbbell. This was matched with obvious caloric restriction, obviously. Daily fasted cardio, 45 minutes, plus 5 days, 60 minutes weight training. Varying strength and hypertrophy workouts, coming off only a week of crazy appetite and tapering off to continued suppression of dose. Yeah, so you need to taper off these kinds of medications because otherwise you'll be too ravenous. I've gone through this several times now, either experimenting with liraglutide 2 years or 3 years ago when this kinds of medications were first incorporated, right? Then I ran up to, what was it, 1.8 milligrams of liraglutide 6 days a week, so I could still eat on Sunday. And then I came off and I got fat because the appetite was so crazy. And then I switched to Tirzepatide the last couple of diets and I came off and I got fat again. And nowadays I would just favor retatrutide, which I have some good experience with. And then just stay at a low effective dose of 0.25 milligrams to 0.5 milligrams, like the Chase Irons recommends for the off season. But I haven't done an off season with retatrutide just quite yet. Stay tuned though. Off season is coming around shortly. My lower back is almost in. Thanks. This is exactly what I was looking for. My pleasure. Let's see. Mr. Jack's Demon. I was running 15 milligrams Mounjaro on the last cut. So that's what Tirzepatide. Last 3 weeks, I dropped 10 milligrams Mounjaro and added 5 milligrams retatrutide. I dropped weight in a quicker way after a stalemate of 7 weeks cut I did. So maybe you got used to the Mounjaro and pivoting to glucagon receptor agonism with retatrutide pivoted to a much better fat loss. Now I'm bulking slowly using retatrutide. I'm using 3 milligrams Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So that's total 3 milligrams per week. That's the dose that I get so much appetite suppression that I can have 100% diet adherence. But if 1 milligram Monday, Wednesday, Friday gives you that result, I'm assuming you're not taking 3 milligrams 3 times per week, 9 milligrams per week in total, then hey, that dose is for you. I ran Reta and Mounjaro at 1 milligrams, 2.5 milligrams daily for 5 days, Saturday, Sunday off, started again on Monday. Okay, again, Jax, don't take too much, right? A low and effective dose will go a very long way. And if you read the scientific evidence, at higher dosages, that's where the problems starts to manifest. Zionic, thanks, Papa Steve. Love this deep dive. Much appreciated. Let's see. Oh, yeah, earthquakes, yes, in my life, man. Don't worry about it. I ain't afraid of no quake. Kelly, for the algorithm, I'm going to share this with all my female friends that still stuck on semaglutide. Yeah, man, that's old news. Get them over to Retatrutide. That's significantly cheaper than getting pharmaceutical semaglutide, which is costing an arm and a leg and a clitoris and probably all of your extensions. So don't do it. Go to Retatrutide. We have discount codes for Retatrutide, saving yourself 10% off in the process of shopping online, obviously. Big Bob, all my lab rats have lost weight with Reta and still going strong. Again, this is not the days of the forums anymore. We don't have to say experimentation, CDs, or lab rats. You say, I took Retatrutide and got this result. And you don't have to be afraid of the DEA reading your comments. Well, at least I don't think so. Amazing work again, boss. Once again, you show why you are the greatest of all time. I try to keep up, man. Mike, amazing job. Steve, thank you. I tried both semaglutide and tirzepatide, lost weight with both, but felt the semaglutide had a stronger appetite suppressing effect and nausea as well. Yeah, and so if you go with pure appetite suppression, it seems that tirzepatide or semaglutide is a little bit more potent than retatrutide, but with retatrutide, through this additional glucagon receptor agonism, you get more better fat loss. So the fat loss journey can actually be shortened if you compare that from the same appetite suppression. So let's say you need 50% appetite suppression and you use either 2 milligrams semaglutide or 5 milligrams tirzepatide and 3 milligrams retatrutide, for example, for the same level of appetite suppression and diet adherence. Then on retatrutide, you should get better fat loss through this GIP and glucagon receptor agonism. Let's see. Improbable username says his height or her height is 178 centimeters, current weight 75.5 kilograms, used retatrutide for the last 6 months, except for the month of February, because I had to stop. I found it very difficult to gain weight. Maybe you should have lowered the dose. I tried dosages from 1 milligram every 3 days, half a milligram every 3 days, 1 milligram weekly, and half a milligram weekly. You can't eat on that? Man, you're a retatrutide hyper-responser. 1 milligrams every 3 days was sufficient enough to blunt my appetite to the point it made cutting a child's play. Yeah, that seems to be the most effective dose regarding appetite suppression and successful outcome of your cutting phase. I noticed slow gastric emptying before I knew about the side effects. Yeah, so the slowed gastric emptying is very noticeable. Again, you get that with apple cider vinegar, betaine hydrochloride, or these GLP-1 receptor agonists. And that means you really have to make sure that food volume is reduced slightly, allowing your stomach to shrink, but also making sure that all the food that you eat, you can digest easily, because with increased slowed gastric emptying, because the food stays in your stomach and now causing irritation like acid reflux, gas, burping, or bloating, then those side effects get worse. So I'm happy that I followed an elimination diet and did a food allergy test, knowing exactly what to eat and what not to eat. And then if I were to go on retatrutide, I would not get any of these gastrointestinal upset problems or bloating or gas or slowed gastric emptying to the point I get acid reflux, right? Fix your diet first and then add in the retatrutide, and then it's literally magic. Literally. Wevy, thanks for all of your research that you do these deep dives. I learned so much from all of your research you do for us. Yes, my pleasure. I spend hours per day on these deep dives. I hope there's some ROI and enjoyment when you watch it. Zeno, it says, currently running 2 milligrams retatrutide, 1 milligram semaglutide. In order to get the most out of my appetite suppression, it works very well. Would definitely run it again for my next cutting phase. Okay, so he's double dipping. I would rather look into retatrutide as the triple action GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon receptor agonist, and then add in cagrilintide through the amylin. What? No, it's not amylin, right? Chase, are you still here? What is it? Cagrilintide is. I gotta get Steve a code. Yeah, we gotta talk soon. what is it? Cagrilintide? It is the amylin receptor, right? Yeah. So then you have quadruple action, and then you have GLP-1, GIP, glucagon, and amylin receptor agonism, which should suppress your appetite. Again, retatrutide is not as potent regarding appetite suppression on a milligram per milligram basis compared to the other GLP-1 receptor agonists. But I would, instead of combining semaglutide with cagrilintide, I would rather combine retatrutide with cagrilintide and then go with or until this NA93A or NC93A, and what was it? NA931 hits the market, bioglutides, and then you have quadruple action, and then cagrilintide would be the fifth action. So, man, cagrilintide. It just rolls off the tongue, man. Retatrutide, cagrilintide. These guys should come up with better terminology medically, or just give it a cool name, like retarditide. That's easy to remember. All right, so let's continue with the comments. I was waiting for this. Dylan, thank you. I was waiting for it too, man. Phenomenal work yet again, Steve. This is next level content. Appreciate it. Batman is still here. Obviously, much appreciated. Where is she? Where's the deep dive? There it is, Batman. Nice work, Steve. Thanks for all of you do. Oh my God, Steve is absolutely over the top. Yeah, that's the methylene blue, baby. Steve, the greatest of all time. Thank you for sharing this information. Tirzepatide worked great for me. I'm switching straight to retatrutide to see if it has any difference. Yeah, so if you go from 1 milligram Tirzepatide to 1 milligram retatrutide, you might notice that fat loss is enhanced, but that you get less appetite suppression. Now, again, I made a pretty valid, albeit highly dubiously calculated from the different clinical trials and the human studies comparing the various GLP-1 receptor agonists regarding their effect on body weight reduction, hemoglobin A1C, waist circumference reduction, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to retatrutide, and then came up with some comparable dosing ranges. But those, honestly, those ranges were all over the place. I think comparing 4.5 milligrams to 18.8 milligrams tirzepatide to 3 milligrams retatrutide, again, based on the clinical trials, you would say that that's, or the human scientific evidence is a fair comparison, switching from what was it? 3.5, I think, 3.5 milligrams tirzepatide up to 18 or 19 milligrams tirzepatide to 3 milligrams retatrutide. You should get comparable effects. I can't remember off the top of my head which effects those were, but those were a comparable range. And then anecdotally, you're like, well, if I run 2 milligrams tirzepatide, I need 3 milligrams retatrutide to get the same appetite suppression. But then fat loss is enhanced, obviously, through the glucagon receptor agonism pathway. So individual response and it changes from one GLP to the next might vary, obviously. Thanks for all the hard work, Steve. Thank you for this, Steve. Adrian Tun, the most shredded guy in Asia. Look at this thumbnail, dude. Holy shit. This guy's over 50 years old. You would never know. Good work from Bearded Muscle. Here's a little bit more of an anecdotal response. Adam or Adern. Tirzepatide or retatrutide for more than 6 months, and eventually my endurance tanked. No matter what, I couldn't be explosive in the sport I like to play. I take it out. A few weeks later, my explosiveness came back. I'm on top of my water intake, mineral intake, electrolyte intake, and it happens every time. 3 times so far, I've gone on to see if it was really the GLP-1s or something else. It comes back every time. I'm just not explosive. I'm on 200 milligrams test, use energy drinks, and still gassed out. I'm not the only one. There are many examples of athletes on Reddit who noticed this huge drop in performance. I can still live just fine, but it was the sport itself. So is that from caloric restriction? Because it increases insulin sensitivity, right? So technically, it should enhance carbohydrate and electrolyte intake and absorption into skeletal muscle. Is it because the GLP-1 and GIP activation in the stomach gives you a little bit of nausea? Like if you do a lot of running, for example, your stomach goes up and down the whole time, right? And same as with heavy leg presses. If you fill your stomach with oatmeal, you get like punched in the face from your upper, or you're punched in the stomach from the upper quads, which is the stomach is full with oatmeal, and then before you know it, after 12 reps, you're vomiting all of your oatmeal all over the leg press. So Is it from that or some sort of impaired glucose uptake, which shouldn't be the case, or from significant caloric restriction? That I would like to know. Personally, I haven't heard about that. I've heard people in the bodybuilding and fitness space say that they get flat from tirzepatide or retatrutide, potentially coming from glucagon agonism or a GIP receptor agonism. But in many cases, it's just because their carbohydrate intake is so restricted. And then even with increased insulin sensitivity and increased insulin secretion, there's not enough carbohydrates to go around for a good pump or good endurance. So please let us know, because this is new to me. Great video, Steve. Nailed it. I've been waiting for this deep dive. Fantastic. Reta for 12 weeks at 2.5 milligrams once a week resulted in AFib arrhythmias and a resting heart rate of 135 beats per minute. Under this, it worked great. And here people go a little bit more in depth and say that what else he was running, it was on 140 tests, always had normal ultrasounds and blood work results in normal resting heart rate. So here we see somebody that doesn't respond very favorably. I'm assuming he was otherwise healthy and just got this as a side effect. And then this person commented, this is what makes me hesitant to try it. Tirzepatide seems to be the safe route. It was also associated with arrhythmias of various cancers. So again, watch the deep dive where I compare tirzepatide to the other GLP-1 receptor agonists regarding side effects and potential safety profile. Reta, it's kind of dodgy, as amazing as all of the other effects are. I don't think so, man, but there's less scientific evidence of retatrutide compared to the other GLP-1 receptor agonists because retatrutide hasn't hit the market just quite yet. But tirzepatide and retatrutide, I think they're very comparable safety profile-wise, but you just stick with the one you prefer, with the ones that gives you the best results and the least side effects, which might be different from everybody. DB Tunes. Reta is amazing for fat loss, but I gotta say, it couldn't fully fill out on it, even at 800 grams high carb days. Okay, so he was experiencing some flatness even with high carbs. It's just like the retatrutide just zaps the carbs. I was on 2 milligrams per week only. Yeah, that's pretty low. That's like an off-season dose of a half a milligram 4 times a week. The appetite suppression does subside after about 6 weeks for me. I never experienced that the appetite suppression went away and that I needed the dose, escalate the dose upwards, either with tirzepatide or retatrutide at 1 milligrams of each 3 times weekly. So that's 3 milligrams weekly. I could still eat if I wanted to, but I could also control my appetite if I wanted to. Still couldn't fill out on 2 milligrams retatrutide weekly on 800 milligrams of carbs or 800 grams of carbs and gain size. I will absolutely run retatrutide again, but not on a push or growth phase unless I try 1 milligram a week. Yeah, so maybe you need to go to a quarter milligrams 3 times per week, which seems to be the lowest effective dose during the off season. Anecdotally, again, it's a little bit of a new practice. It's something that Chase Irons introduced to the fitness community. And it's still, personally, I'm a little bit skeptical because I haven't tried retatrutide during the off-season yet. On paper, it does make sense, even though I feel that some of the beneficial effects regarding insulin sensitivity and maybe the prevention of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease or the resolvement thereof is coming from caloric restriction, not from the beneficial effects from the drug itself. But again, if a low and effective dose can improve insulin sensitivity, remove the food noise, which everybody has food noise during the off season, and you eat a little bit more freely. So even diet adherence during the off season is sustained at a quarter milligram or half a milligram retatrutide 3 times weekly, then I'm all for it, man. I'm not entirely sure when I will do a off season because I'm still trying to get lean and you know, being 120 kilos, 265 pounds was a little bit uncomfortable. But if you can get there without the additional body fat that I gained the last time using retatrutide, then it's got my seal of approval, obviously. And then we'll have to bow down and give Chase Irons a couple reach arounds and blowjobs because that means he was the first to introduce it and means he was right. Which, again, based on other guys running retatrutide during the offseason, I'm pretty sure that Chase Irons is right. I just haven't tried it myself yet before I give it my seal of approval, obviously. Right? Open your mouth after you've tried it, not before you tried it. Let's see, or notice the resting heart rate went up 20 points. Normally in the 60s and retatrutide stayed in the 80s. Wow, that's pretty high. Yeah, that's pretty high. Daily fasted cardio might help. Let's see, David says, dosing is key, too low and you get zero appetite suppression. It isn't anything like tirzepatide, so multiple people say that tirzepatide is superior for appetite suppression, albeit, Jesus Christ, Mel Whites, fuck off, dude. Did you see that? Three fucking alerts. I should uninstall this program. Let's see. They say that the appetite suppression isn't anything like Tirzepatide, which is the greatest of all time regarding appetite suppression. It's been a while since I ran Tirzepatide. But yeah, diet adherence on Tirzepatide or Retatrutide are pretty much the same for me at 1 milligram 3 times weekly. But if you need more appetite suppression, then maybe a combination of Tirzepatide and Retatrutide or combination of Retatrutide and Cagrilintide through the amylin receptor agonism might be the way to go forward. I will give that a try eventually. The Cagrilintide is already on the way, and the Retatrutide is in stock. Let's see. Scott says added 500 micrograms every 5 days to my TRT regime. No reports to be found, so I guess it's working, or he's not complaining at least. I ran Retatrutide for 8 weeks last fall at a low dose, titrated up gradually to 1.25 milligrams per week, and I got about 8% body fat for the first time ever, drank much less alcohol. So again, another success story that fat loss was sustained, diet adherence was improved, and alcoholic tendencies went down. That's why I will not be using Retatrutide when I go to Bali, because I would like to drink a little bit more than usual. It's my holiday after all. Jax also said, also forget to say that if I run Trembolone using Mounjaro, definitely keeps the Tren sides of fucked up behavior at bay. Okay, is that aggression or deviant tendencies regarding sexualism or drug abuse? Please specify. As you don't get the urge to do stupid shit or make impulsive decisions. Okay, specifying. Definitely helps prevent that side effect of Trem coming out, especially the sexual deviant side. Okay, yeah, so at least Mounjaro might be able to mitigate Tremoloni sandwich side effects. Let's see. 2 milligrams Retatrutide first week and then 1 milligram per week kills my hunger with no symptoms. However, I still have physiological food cravings and food noise for sweet things occasionally, but purely like, oh, that would be nice to have. But this is different from the feeling that if I hadn't eaten it in a while, I should eat it. So again, it takes away the food noise, but you might still fantasize about eating some sweets. And again, if you have a little bit of sweet over the weekend, I think that can set you up for 6 days of success if you just have a cheesecake or an ice cream or donut or cookie, whatever you prefer, 1 time per week after your main cheat meal with your loved ones, so you have a little bit more fun time. I mean, that's what I do. I still have my one cheat meal, whether that's a cookie or a bucket of ice cream or donut or two. The caloric is a little bit more favorable regarding the donuts. Even though I don't really like donuts, I like cheesecake and ice cream. So I go with the sweets 1 time per week. And if I then have some cravings during the week for sweet stuff during a dieting phase, then all I have to do is wait till Sunday, and then I can get my kicks in. So he says, I think it's more of a psychological habit trigger than a craving. Yeah, that's probably what it is. So again, if you allow yourself once per week, I think that's very budgetable. I feel Retatrutide works great if you keep yourself busy and distracted from the food noise and set alarms to remember to eat. Yeah, that's a very good approach. So if you take a dose where the food noise goes away, your hunger is suppressed, and your appetite is non-existent, then you don't think about food unless occasionally. But then again, if you allow yourself a cheat meal in the weekend, then you should be able to overlap those 6 days leading into the cheat meal. And then, all right, if your appetite is really suppressed, then you need to set an alarm, just like I needed to set an alarm when I was taking Tirzepatide at 1 milligram 3 times weekly. And I just forgot to eat because I was so involved with work, the deep dives I make for you guys. Deadlift. For the love of God, don't overeat on Retatrutide. I was feeling hypoglycemic really bad, and I figured it was time to end my cut. I'm about 8% to 9% body fat now, ate about 5,000 calories in one day. Very carb-heavy meal. My body rejected the carbs with Retatrutide, wouldn't let me eat, so I was throwing up and shitting out water for 2 days straight. Wow, what was your dose of Retatrutide? Yeah, but you do need to slowly phase the Retatrutide off and then start increasing your food again because, well, if you're on 3 milligrams, 5 milligrams Retatrutide per week, and then go from 2,000 calories to 5,000 calories in a single sitting, then some side effects are meant to be expected. And dude, I've done diets where I ended up at 1,500 calories when I was still natural, didn't take any appetite suppression or fat burning aid. And then I went to 6,000 calories the next day and I got the same effect. I just feel horrible, hypoglycemic, borderline vomiting because you're so stuffed because you can't stop eating. Because your insulin management and your glycemic control is so terrible after a long-term diet and then stuffing your face with apple pie. Not a good idea. Talking from personal experience. Let's see. Ed Larry says, great video. I've been on Retatrutide since January, starting at 2 milligrams weekly and gradually increasing to my current dose of 7.5 milligrams. Holy moly. Since starting, my resting heart rate has risen from 70 beats per minute to 98. Yeah, that's probably because the dose is a little bit too high. I'm waiting to see if it decreases over time. Did it decrease? He's doing 8 miles on the Peloton daily. I don't think so. I think it's a dose-dependent response. And even if you take it longer, if you do daily fasted cardio, it doesn't really seem to go away. So you have an increase of 28 beats per minute, even though the scientific evidence shows what up to 12 beats per minute, and that went up to 12 milligrams Retatrutide weekly. So in your case, I would switch to a lower dose and maybe look into something else to boost your metabolism and help with fat loss and control your appetite. And that's what the tesofensine and the Cagrilintide and the mitochondrial support aids and mirabegron, etc. is there for. I have an entire deep dive about non-stimulatory fat burners on my YouTube channel. Bart Ronk, my experience comparison from switching from semaglutide or tirzepatide to retatrutide. My first two gave me a few times extreme hypoglycemia, blood glucose around 20. Holy shit. Slow speech, cold sweat, shaking, extremely lightheaded on very low calories and very low carbs. Yeah, I mean, the insulin secretion from semaglutide or tirzepatide can be quite severe. Every single time body fat is below 10%. Terrible experience and dangerous. I haven't experienced this on retatrutide. But what was the dose? Was that the clinical dose of 5 milligrams? Some side effects are meant to be expected, man. And again, you still need to eat correctly. So if you eat one sweet potato per day with a high glycemic index, high glycemic load, then you might go hypoglycemic afterward. Right? Fix your diet first and then add in these compounds. But it does sound like serious side effects. Sorry to hear that happened. But if you pivot to retatrutide and you don't get that effect, then stick with retatrutide, obviously. Let's see. D-Brad, what GLP would be the best one to help lower fasting blood glucose levels? I did a fair comparison in this video regarding blood glucose levels and hemoglobin A1C levels, so give that segment a watch. And you can't really compare because they all have different effectiveness for various dosages. And most of these studies were performed on people with type 2 diabetes, which might have a different insulin response compared to healthy individuals. So caloric restriction, carbohydrate restriction, daily fasted cardio, and then you use the lowest effective dose of a GLP-1 receptor agonist. Go with the one you prefer. Regarding your fasting blood glucose levels, right? Everybody's different. So try some things out and see what works best for you. William says, laugh out loud, damn, I laughed my ass off when Steve give the into about it and says it is safe with that little pic of the, oh yeah. So when I get into it and it says, is it safe? With the pic of the good guy shoving a metal rod in the guy's mouth while sweating. So that's from a movie. And I wanted to use the is it safe segment from Gremlins, which is a lot more funny, but I couldn't find a suitable GIF or a YouTube video to overlay it. So I went with the original. What was it? I think it's Marathon Man. Is it Marathon Man? I think it's man, it's a very old movie. But yeah, the guy keeps asking you, is it safe? Is it safe? Is it safe? Before it does dental work. It's hilarious. Give that movie a watch. Let's see. Brand new says, I lost 14 pounds in a month from using 1 milligram, from using one 10 milligram vial, 3 times per week administered. Now I have flabby skin on my gut and love handles used to be. Yeah, so don't lose fat too fast. Otherwise you have loose skin that you need to address with surgery, just like what is it called? Renaissance periodization, Mike Israel just did. But if you can't get it off otherwise, then just do the surgery, man. Don't overcomplicate it. This is the end of the easy access of this. No, it's not. I mean, it's not my fault that Cerebralizing got pulled off the market. Retatrutide will still stay on the market for as long as it's not FDA approved, and then Eli Lilly might send out a cease and desist, just like it did with various compounding pharmacies regarding Retatrutide. Let's see. Thanks for the deep dives. All my Tirzepatide is going to start going on sale. Yeah. ITP deep dive, ITPP deep dive. I recorded that today, and that deep dive is in the making. Stay tuned. First, we got to do the epicatogen deep dive, then the anabolic roundtable, which I recorded today, or about an hour before this. That's why I'm so goddamn tired and greasy, because I've been sitting here for 5 hours fucking today. Today, I recorded the ITPP deep dive, the anabolic roundtable, and this addendum live stream. So that will all go live, and then I'll start preparing for the data deep dive. Don't you worry, Skel. Everything will be released eventually. Some of the doses people use are crazy. I did 1 milligram to 1.4 milligrams every 5 days for 5 weeks and lost 10 kilograms. 2 months later, I only gained 2 kilograms back. I had very low energy taking it. I was weak and dizzy. I had to take it easy in the gym. Totally crushed my appetite. No desire for alcohol. I wasn't able to finish my regular sized meals. I thought something else. I wasn't able to finish, and the girlfriend left me. I know 2 other people that had the same side effects. My next cycle will try lower dose just 3 times a week. Yeah, so everybody responds differently, right? Some people like half a milligram retatrutide or another GLP-1 receptor agonist. Some people need 2.5 milligrams 3 times per week. So everybody's different. Everybody has different response. And dude, if you're 60 kilos, as an example, you went from 70 kilos to 60 kilos, that's significantly different body weight comparing 1 milligram retatrutide for a guy that's 120 kilos. And it's double your fucking body weight, dude. So the dose might be double as well to get a similar homogeneity regarding the concentration following a retatrutide administration. So again, doses are going to be all over the place. What matters is that you get appetite suppression for 0 side effects. And then whatever dose you end up at, you end up at. Again, some dosages are a little bit high. I do agree. Let's see. Mighty Lord Kuba says, if you eat too much in the off season, then eat clean diet. No limit on lean meat and vegetables. You will not get fat. All right, so this guy's looking for clients. Unlike, I know the best way. Don't take retatrutide. Just hire me as a coach. I see what you're doing, bro. Samuel Setcher. Thoughts on running retatrutide with the ECA stack, ephedrine, caffeine, aspirin, yohimbine for fasted cardio. Hey man, go for it. Even though I would prefer Mirabegron and injectable carnitine. With or without the MIC blend. Chase Irons might point you in the right direction for injectable carnitine. PIP free, allegedly. I want to try Tirzepatide. Retatrutide seems way too risky at this point. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Watch the video again. Again, scientific evidence will come more to the forefront and it hits the market. But if liraglutide, semaglutide, dulaglutide, and tirzepatide are reasonably safe, unless you have type 2 diabetes and lifestyle issues giving you pancreatitis, pancreatic cancer, or thyroid cancer, which again, I'm not entirely sure if it's coming from the medication or lifestyle, I think retatrutide is safe, man. I haven't heard any adverse reactions besides nausea. And but time will tell, right? If healthy people use these kinds of compounds, I think it's safe at low and effective dosages, modulated multiple times per week, compared to the clinical dose of multiple milligrams in a single administration, combined with a terrible lifestyle where pancreatitis, pancreatic cancer, or thyroid cancer, or elevating resting heart rate is not coming from the medication, but just because these people are unfit, unhealthy as fuck. So I would skip it and wait for the bioglutide 4-way agonist. Dude, there's even less scientific evidence on bioglutide, so go to retatrutide. I could make a bioglutide deep dive on 2 studies. So don't get ahead of yourself. Love retatrutide peptide 700 micrograms daily. All right. That is good. Wait, so I absolutely need to hop on this stuff since my God, since my triglycerides are practically through the roof, even though my cholesterol is not out of range. For some reason, it's just triglycerides. Tell me you're carnitine deficient without telling me you're carnitine deficient. Double dubious extrapolation. I think I got a bingo. Yes, I was interpreting the study, and then halfway through, I realized that LY33, the rest of the number, was not the same as the LY343, the rest of the number for retatrutide, and then I had to pivot a little bit. But I felt that the extrapolation, albeit highly dubiously, was still valid as getting some sort of indication on the potential beneficial effects regarding the reduction in fat mass and muscle mass, because again, retatrutide studies only look at a reduction in body weight, not a reduction in body fat mass and lean muscle mass. So dubious extrapolation needs to take place, so you might know what to expect. It is what it is, man. Scientific evidence is paper thin at this point, so if I do dubious extrapolation and there's a lot of conjecture and filling in the gaps, well, it's better than doing nothing, bro. Molina Joshua, great timing for this video as I just got my retatrutide yesterday, adding it to my mitochondrial sports stack of SLUPP332, MOTC, methylene blue, and L-carnitine. Hopefully, I'll be a hot daddy by summertime. I hope so too, man. And then you know what you need to do when you do hit or when you do land a hottie and give like 3 or 4 pumps for Uncle Steve, and then but don't think about me. Just say a little prayer and then 3 pumps. and you can bust your nut on your own accord. Let's see. Retatrutide blunts both the expulsion of addiction and the impulsive behavior of ADHD. That's good to know. I didn't find it in scientific evidence, but yeah, anecdotally, people help, retatrutide can help with addiction and potentially attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So that's good that you mentioned that. Steve, I was curious if you have seen Peter Artia's episode 337. Can't remember. I assume you have, but I believe they discussed these topics. So understand it's a lot for diabetics, but you being extrapolation god that you are might be interesting. I'll give it a watch after this and see if there's any additional information that I didn't cover in this deep dive, but I think it was pretty thorough. How much more is there? Oh, there's a lot. Okay, I'm going to be a little bit more selective. Otherwise, we're going to be here for an hour. Retatrutide killed my appetite. That's good. Where you can buy this in the UK, vigorous.com will send you in the right direction. I haven't finished the video yet. Thanks for your algorithm post. Say the tolerance builds in. I'm only 4 months in. Up to 20 milligrams Retatrutide. Please watch the video and then adjust from there. 100% reduced any desire to drink alcohol for me anyway. Yeah, I've heard this multiple times before. I have a feeling people are going to be selling out of Retatrutide soon. Don't worry, there's plenty of sources that host Retatrutide and will continue to stock Retatrutide. It will never go out of stock. Flowstatin, I'm not really sure. All right, all right. All right, the rest is just more of the same. So let's go to the chat and see what questions we can answer there. Any super chats? Yeah, there was one super chat. Okay. Let's see. Now it's locked again. I don't know why this is going on, man. Hmm. Well, this works. Am I back? Ah, now it's back. Okay. So I think luckily I didn't cancel the stream. I think there's an issue with StreamYard. If I go in and out of overlays, the screen sharing, and then it just freezes up on me. So I'll probably have to cut that part out. Luckily I didn't stop, so we can go right into the questions. Okay. Zionic, Vigorous Steve breaking down Retatrutide, time to train the fat on confusion and inject some knowledge into this chat. Yes, sir. Retarditide is the best. I agree. Let's see. Adrian Croak, you mentioned something about proton pump inhibitors not being nice with Retatrutide. I'm on pantoprazole. Should I be worried I'm going to die? No, you're not going to die, but since GLP-1 receptor agonists slow gastric emptying and alter gastric juice secretion, it might also affect your digestion and overall absorption of the nutrients. And proton pump inhibitors, regardless of the brand, whether that's pantoprazole or omeprazole, whatever, they also they reduce digestive juices, right, and acid production, and it might lower the absorption of magnesium or other minerals or other micronutrients. So if you lower micronutrient intake from both pathways, then you might get micronutrient deficient and give yourself osteoporosis. Now, this is a bit of an excessive extrapolation, but like these are drug interactions that you need to look into. If you eat healthy, then I don't think it's an issue, but I think it's better to remove the proton pump inhibitor and proton pump inhibitors and follow an elimination diet or do a food allergy test to the point you can eat whatever you need to eat without getting acid reflux while we're using Retatrutide. And at least you know that absorption, metabolism, digestion, that kind of stuff, absorption of nutrients is not extrally impaired. So yeah, I would not consider that combination unless you go to the hotel buffet and then you take some, proton pump inhibitor to prevent the breakdown of all the food that you ate, and then follow that up with Garcinia, Cambogia, and Xenical and metformin, and then you basically shit out everything that you just ate. All right, let's scroll down a little bit. Buddha to Zeus, another great deep dive. I'm definitely interested in trying Retatrutide, but my Tirzepatide, I get it for $25 per month through my insurance. So it doesn't make sense to switch at this time. Yeah, I wouldn't switch to that either, man. I get my Retatrutide for free, but I'm a sponsored athlete. I'm a drug influencer after all. But yeah, dude, for $25 a month through your insurance, take your Tirzepatide, man. The Tirzepatide deep dive is in the making. Steve, including Retatrutide, what's the most exciting incretin mimetic under development to you? Yeah, so biglutide, because that has IGF-1 receptor agonism and it's orally bioavailable. So that makes it a little bit easier to dose, even though I'm not adverse to injections. Stuck for here, thanks for all of your content, Uncle Steve. Hit the like button, losers. Yeah, but it's too much work. I'm risk adverse to liking, even though Chase Irons agrees. Gearing up to get back to it. Yes. Gearing up to get back to daily videos and live streams. Tirzepatide and Retatrutide definitely helps stop having impulsive traits on Tren, like Jax already mentioned. Parabolic, Reta is king. I'm sure your sales of Reta are going through the roof also. You're welcome. Every time I drop a deep dive, sales increase. Let's see. Sheldon. Can somebody expand on the pros and cons of one dose versus weekly splitting? I remember a live stream from Chase where he mentioned the threshold of efficacy is easier to reach with a single dose. Yeah, what did Chase say about that? So, since Retatrutide and some of the other GLP-1 receptor agonists have a half-life and active life of approximately 5 to 7 days, varies between the different GLP-1 receptor agonists, similar to testosterone, for example. I feel that the side effects in a single administration of 2, 4, 5 milligrams, whatever GLP-1 receptor agonist you take, might be too high the first 3 days, and then the appetite suppression starts to decrease. So what I've noticed from liraglutide, which you dose every single day, that the appetite suppression is more sustained if you dose it every single day, and then the side effects are minimal or non-existent, basically. And I feel that's the same for semaglutide or dulaglutide or tirzepatide and retatrutide. If you dose it multiple times, then the side effects are non-existent and the appetite suppression is sustained, but not to the point you get nausea or gastrointestinal problems. Now, I do remember, and I forgot to include this in my deep dive, that Chase did go into some sort of efficacy threshold based on the scientific evidence. But Chase, if you're still here, can you send that to me by that video that you made? Through WhatsApp, and then I'll link it down below so people can watch it there. Like, I'm not trying to duplicate your content, obviously. So, Sheldon, thanks for pointing that out. If you guys want to know more, just watch Chase's video where he explained the threshold of efficacy for retatrutide dosing. Because again, Chase is another one of the few experts on this topic. He has a lot more experience with retatrutide than I have. So yeah, look no further than that video. I'll link it down below. If you look into a GLP-1 tracker, you can see a difference on how big the spike you get versus going right into it with microdosing. A single dose will help you find a threshold faster, and then you can switch. Okay, so it's about finding a dose where you get the beneficial appetite suppression and then titrating downwards with more frequent administration to sustain that appetite suppression. Am I getting that correctly, Chase? Again, we're a little bit behind in the questions. But thanks for clarifying. Let's see. Now let's scroll down a little bit. Does T4 interfere with retatrutide? I lost 20 pounds in 3 weeks, half a milligram 3 times a week, and I also ate twice as much and still starving, no extra cardio, had signs of hyperthyroidism. I did not find anything in scientific evidence regarding altered conversion of T4 into T3 with any of the GLP-1 receptor agonists. And signs of hyperthyroidism does not mean that you have hyperthyroidism. So please do your blood work to confirm that. See if your T3, T4 levels are skewed compared to baseline, and then adjust accordingly. So, yeah, if you lose 20 pounds, the thyroid function might actually be reduced. over time because you have caloric restriction. It might also inhibit or impair or lower your selenium and iodine intake, which has an otherwise positive effect on your metabolism. Steve left Richard deep dive. Did you happen to cover the antibodies developed to Reta? It's one of the few studies I've read. 4 milligrams is kind of the maximum before they developed. I did not see anything in the scientific evidence regarding antibodies. So if you have that study, please link it down below because I read all of them, unless it's one of the studies that was locked behind the paywall. Again, about 50% of the studies on Retatrutide are after everything was indexed on Science Hub. So the studies which I couldn't read locked behind the paywall because, again, I'm not going to spend $1,640 on a deep dive. I spend enough time on these deep dives already. So if that's a study locked behind the paywall, either send me the PDF or specify which study it is so I can give it a read and see if that's, needs a follow-up study, but I did not read anything about antibody development in the other scientific evidence which was available, which was quite thorough regarding the indexing and analysis of the other studies, some of which are behind the paywall, so you can extrapolate the information from that. I did not see anything about antibodies. So if you have that study, let me know, and if I have to pay money for it, and if it's worth another update or a little bit description underneath the deep dive, then I'll gladly do that. But for now, I am unaware. And I think it was pretty thorough. Chase, are you stalking Reta? Oh, okay. Something with Matsu or SLU? Always Henry. Yeah, it's the that is the golden triangle, bro. Don't forget it to add in the methylene blue. Retatrutide, methylene blue, Matsu, SLU PP332, and then the hack that me and Chase follow, an SGL2 2 inhibitor, empagliflozin or dapagliflozin. Yeah, I should have included that in the deep dive. Now that I think about it, so the reason why this works is as follows: Tirzepatide or Retatrutide, they activate the gastric inhibitory polypeptide, aka a glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide receptor on adipose tissue. If insulin levels are low and glucagon levels are high, or you get glucagon-like agonism through Retatrutide or injectable glucagon for that matter, or taking insulin, releasing glucagon. If glucagon levels are high and insulin levels are low and serum triglycerides and glucose levels are low, then you get fatty acid release from adipose tissue, especially if you stimulate that with clenbuterol, mirabegron, albuterol, etc., right? Stimulatory fat burners that work on adipose tissue directly. You get fat release from adipose tissue. With that, you get a glycerol backbone release from adipose tissue, which converts into glucose through gluconeogenesis in the liver, thus raising serum glucose levels, which does increase insulin levels, and then insulin has a blunting effect on further fat loss. But if you take a sodium glucose type 2 inhibitor, which promotes the excretion of glucose and sodium through the kidneys, then even though you get gluconeogenesis from this glycerol backbone raising blood glucose levels, this SGLT2 will bring that back down, sustaining fat loss because there's no negative feedback from elevated glucose or elevated insulin levels. So combining Retatrutide or any other GLP-1 receptor agonist like Retatrutide, let's stick to bioglutide, Retatrutide, or Tirzepatide, combining either of those three with an SGLT2 inhibitor, empagliflozin or dapagliflozin, this is an absolute diet hack. I mentioned this in other videos, but not specifically in the Retatrutide deep dive. I guess I completely forgot. That's why we do these Addendum live streams, because once the video goes live, obviously you get a lot of feedback, and then you figure out that you forgot something, which unfortunately happens. So that's why I mentioned it here. Hopefully Alvaro JD will get the timestamps out for you guys, and then you can find that information right here in this segment. DB Tuned, glad I caught this. I'm restarting Retatrutide this week after a 5-week break from it, adding in 200 milligrams SLU PP332 for the first time. Yes, Marathon Man. Yeah, that's the one. Dustin Hoffman. I'm old. Yeah, I'm old too, but there's so much information in my brain today doing the ITPP deep dive and the anabolic roundtable for 2 hours, and then this Addendum live stream that, yeah, this is too much. I had to cancel Steve for saying GIF. What is it? GIF? GIF? Get fucked? I don't know, man. I know many people recommend cycling on and off peptides to prevent receptor downregulation. Do you think this is necessary with Retatrutide? I can't remember what the half-life is of GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon, but it's probably several hours, and it's not something you have to worry about. But yeah, you build up some sort of tolerance. Does that tolerance require you to increase the dose or look elsewhere? It's probably a combination of both. Well, yeah, you can't take everything indefinitely, besides testosterone or other bioidentical hormones. But yeah, cycling on and off is usually a good idea, or going up and down is probably a good idea. Where if that has to do with receptor downregulation, that's usually a bit of a myth and an excuse to incorporate a certain practice that is not based in science. Because again, receptors upregulate, downregulate, and turn over quite rapidly. No, this is not normal, and this is just trolling. And based on your physique, even though you have milky titties, you should not be running Tren. And if you're gay, just fucking embrace it, man. Just be as flamboyant as you want to be. There's no shame in that. But yeah, there's different groups of people you should associate with if you want to be full blown gay on Tremblant. Right, those gay parties where everybody's wearing YMCA clothes, those seem to be a little bit more up your alley. Hey Steve, you probably answered this before, but would you introduce Richard to my Tirzepatide 5 milligrams weekly shot as I have both? You can try that. Like we just highlighted, some people combine it, but I would rather look into a combination of Retatrutide with Cagrilintide or a combination of Tirzepatide with Cagrilintide. I'm not entirely sure what the dosing protocol is. Again, Chase Irons has experience with Cagrilintide, and I do not, but it's on the way, so stay tuned. I ultimately think daily dosing is best after going back and forth with it. Okay, so Chase sealed the deal here. More frequent administrations seem to be better. All right, asking Chase. Chase, you should do a live stream again, man. You're here answering questions. At least get some fucking super chats for it. Can I still run exogenous insulin pre and post workout while on low dose Retatrutide to reduce food noise? Yes. I know people who combine that and I have no problems, even though Retatrutide does improve insulin sensitivity and insulin secretion. If anything, you drop the exogenous insulin dose down a little bit by 50% or 25%, 33%, and then go by your blood glucose levels to see if you get comparable blood what is it? Glucose homeostasis in the bloodstream following meals, which you shouldn't change, but you might need to reduce your exogenous insulin dose down. But I allegedly combined Retatrutide with Lantus 10 IUs upon waking, and I got no change in blood glucose levels, but I was a little bit fuller. And a combination of Retatrutide with long-acting insulin is pretty powerful regarding fullness. What is a good non-stim fat burner stack with Retatrutide for contest prep, and how many weeks should you drop Retatrutide? I would stop Retatrutide about 2 weeks before you start carb loading. Otherwise, carb loading might be a little bit difficult, and 2 weeks out, you should be lean enough to the point you don't need appetite suppression. And a non-stim fat burner stack, I mean, it could be albuterol with mirabegron, even though that might increase your heart rate slightly. Retatrutide can increase your heart rate slightly. Injectable carnitine, obviously, MOTS-c, SLU, PP332, and methylene blue will help with energy levels and might help with fat reduction. Again, SLU PP332 is a exercise mimetic, and myoinositol tripyrophosphate is also an exercise mimetic, so watch for the deep dive, which I didn't include in a non-fat burner stack video that I made because I was not aware of that effect. You can only find that in 1 or 2 animal models, so I don't know. I'm not aware of everything at the same time, even though I should be. Unfortunately, you'll learn more as you do deep dives. So yeah, that was added to the ITPP deep dive. And what else? Growth hormone, fragment 176 to 191, or anti-obesity drug 9604, or non-stimulatory and promote lipolysis. Glucagon, if you can find those injections, 1 milligram Eli Lilly hypo kits, very good for fat loss. And Yohimba and Robolstein are a little bit stimulatory, but not to a great extent. So yeah, watch that deep dive about non-stimulatory fat burners. I'm sure you get a lot of ideas. All right. Henry, just taking notes, having taken, what note-taking app have you used for these deep dives? Just Word. I just use Word. I discovered Obsidian, and it's a game changer for my learning and general notes. No, I just use Word. I use Perplexity and the ChatGPT and Grok to a certain extent, but mostly Perplexity for scientific research. And then I write it all in a Word document, and then I start scripting, and then I organize everything, and then I start recording. But yeah, notes work very well for me if I put them in notes. Anybody experience anxiety on Retatrutide? I tried 2 different times, 2 milligrams, panic attacks with both. Never heard that. So, but maybe somebody in the comment section can fill you in. I've never heard about that. I generally have anxiety myself, but Retatrutide had an effect in the slightest. Okay. I mean, it might come through neurotransmitter modulation, even though with Retatrutide there was not much scientific evidence. And then the serotonergic and dopaminergic effects of semaglutide and tirzepatide, or liraglutide for that matter, are poorly documented. And if it is documented, it's coming from animal models. So look into GABA, maybe, or a Ghrelin Calm, or Ghrelin what is it called? Emodin, which lowers cortisol production, or a combination thereof, or high L-theanine and 5-HTP and GABA before bed. That might be able to lower anxiety, or try to find the root cause of anxiety. Right? And it could be coming from bolus injections of testosterone, which are also known to increase anxiety. Let's see. I wanted to thank you for the Bromantane recommendation this Saturday. Much cleaner energy with new Pept Bromantane, 25 milligrams pills each day. I take like 25 milligrams to 50 milligrams and then new Pept on top. But if it works for you, it works for you. I like Bromantane a lot. I might have taken one today because I had a lot of recording to do, and Bromantane puts me in a good mood, especially with methylene blue and fluvoxamine. So much serotonergic effects. My brain's probably going to melt. Mike Ishtel mentioned on Twitter that the GLP researchers are trying to incorporate myostatin-related manipulation. Interesting. I did not know that. I'll look into it. All right, guys, it's been an hour. Let's wrap it up here. Any more questions or super chats? Post them in now. For the guy that found the antibody study, or if you guys know the antibody study, please let me know which study that is. I read through all of the abstracts of the 80 studies that I put the citations for to see if it was worth purchasing. But after reading all of those 80 studies, at least the abstracts and all of the full publications, I figured it was not worth my time to purchase any of these studies. But if I overlooked something, amen. My sincere apologies. It happens. There's a lot of scientific evidence on these compounds, and if I missed a little footnote, then it happened. So the antibodies, yeah, I'm very interested. Chase Irons is also interested. So please hook us up, hook a brother up, obviously. Man, look at Chase, dude. Fucking thick as fuck, asshole. Man, every time I see Chase's profile picture, I want to bulk up to 160 pounds. I'm doing okay, man. I'm like, what is this? This is wrestling a Bengal tiger. I trimmed my body hair, so I was a little bit too. I was a little bit in a hurry today, but yeah, I'm doing okay, minus the marks. My lower back is in. I'm at the point where when you're walking, you're lean enough, your lower back is in, and then you have like a little skin fold, and then as you walk, the skin fold goes from right to left, as you're walking, and it's so annoying. It's so annoying, this feeling, because literally every step you take, you feel a skin fold come and go, and it's very distracting. So I think I need about 6 more weeks before I'm like lean like Chase Irons is, and then I can start increasing the calories. And then I think the epicatogen experiment, YK11 experiment, and follistatin 344 experiment is done, and then I'm gonna go on high test with what is it called? Not Ngenla, and 10 IUs per day, or equivalent of 10 IUs growth hormone per day, and then throw in the Retatrutide and see if we can gain some size back. Even though that's probably around the time that my wife expecting birth, so I might have to abort and fulfill the daddy duties. Anyway, let's see. Chase, thanks so much for joining in, man. I hope you're doing well. We would like to see a little bit more content of you, but I know you're busy. And 2 grams test with a pin of Ngenla a day. Pin of Ngenla. Fuck, man. 1 gram per test per week with an AI and equivalent of 10 IUs Ngenla. Yeah, I was a little bit uncomfortable at 265 pounds, but at 250 is doable. All right. Anyone interested in starting a GoFundMe for a review of the studies behind the paywall? Hey man, it's I thought about this honestly, doing like a GoFundMe for this kinds of stuff because I mean you can't tell me to purchase all of the studies every single time, but if people are willing to donate $5, but I know how the audience goes. There'll be like 10 guys donating $5 and then we're at $500, and then all the people donating $5 are upset that nobody else donated the remaining $1,140 for all of the studies, and then it's my fault. And it's my fault, you know? So, yeah, I'm not sure about that. Just keep super chatting, and eventually the studies will become available, man. Don't be in a rush. Use the report marijuana is stronger than Retatrutide. Yeah, don't smoke weed on Retatrutide. Then the appetite will come back with a vengeance. And the last one, not a question, but thank you for your knowledge. First 2 weeks on 2.5 milligrams Tirzepatide was insane. The smoothest suppression ever. Only downside was a slight decrease in how my HDH medication felt. Okay. Yeah, that could be through serotonergic modulation or by slowing gastric emptying to the point that you didn't absorb the full dose of your ADHD medication. Was that Ritalin? Everything is always Steve's fault. Yeah, you'd be surprised, dude. You'd be fucking surprised. Like, dude, sometimes you read the comments, like I usually delete them right away and block these people. But you'd be surprised what people say. Like I'm the worst person in the world, you know? For misinterpreting something, or they think I'm misinterpreting something, or they don't agree that I put the animal in F tier. Right? So, oh man, thank God for methylene blue and fluvoxamine. Otherwise, I've self-deleted a long time ago. No, not really, but yeah. Vyvanse, 40 milligrams. Holy shit. 40 milligrams? No wonder you post so much. Henry, fuck man, you don't want to take that. Send that to me. Bring that to Thailand for me. Disregarding all the legal problems that you might get into, but yeah, Vyvanse is not available here in Thailand. I would love to sample some, but I'm sticking to bromantane. Okay, guys, thanks so much for joining into the Retatrutide deep dive. My sincere apologies for saying Retatrutide and not Retatrutide, but this tongue has had so much practice on your mom's speech that the R just rolls off the tongue like there's nothing else. So it will forever be known as Retatrutide, not Retatrutide. But I would still prefer retarded. All right. Thanks, you guys, for joining in. Tomorrow, maybe the epicatogen deep dive. Next week, the anabolic roundtable, and then we'll do an epicatogen addendum deep dive discussion if there's a lot of demand for it. But yeah, you guys might be surprised with the results because my high sensitivity C-reactive protein was so high to the point you might think I have cancer. Yeah, but we'll see that tomorrow when it drops. Okay, guys, peace out. Enjoy your evening, and we'll see you soon. Take care.